It was the top 10 in US and Canada for almost a week. Papa Netflix, I'm ready for the next one. And no one called. It was the worst thing that has ever happened to me.
My guest today is a stand-up comedian with a top 10 Netflix special, 2 podcasts, over 500,000 Instagram followers, and a brand new book, Walking Red Flag. And as always, we get into the actual numbers. Jared breaks down how the tours, the podcast, the book, and the specials actually stack up and why he calls the whole thing bronze handcuffs.
So I kind of have bronze handcuffs. These things are doing well enough that they create revenue. Letting go of them would be me taking a chance and taking a step back.
He pulls back the curtain on what it really takes to get a Netflix comedy special made, including funding it himself and then waiting a year to hear back.
Make it yourself is what I did the first time, and then send it to us based on our specs, and we'll buy it or we won't.
Jared is also a go-to for dating advice, so we get into where money and relationships actually collide. Why I'm not ready is usually a money decision, and the rent conversation he's in the middle of right now as his girlfriend moves in.
I'm not ready to be in a relationship is also I'm not ready to start life and make you a responsibility in my life. I think a money decision more than people want to believe.
And underneath all of it, the thing he keeps coming back to, the money was never really the point.
The prize is that you get to do stand-up. That's the win. That's what you get. All the other stuff is to get to do stand-up.
I'm Ashley, certified financial planner, founder of The Fiscal Femme, and I'm asking the question everyone is already wondering. How do people actually afford their lives? This is How Do You Afford This? Awesome. Welcome to the show, Jared.
Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
So excited to have you on. I'm going to get right into it. You are a stand-up comedian with a top 10 Netflix special. I watched it. It's amazing. 2 podcasts, sold out tours. Now your book, Walking Red Flag. How do you afford this life?
How do I afford with a lot of stress, a lot of worry, a lot of concern, a lot of trying to always figure out the puzzle is kind of the deal.
I love it. And I want to get into the puzzle. I love your new book, and I want to get into all the things money and dating. But first, digging into your puzzle, your own life, how did you become the friend that everyone goes to for dating advice?
I kind of always had that role. Like I became friendly, from a very young age with these, with girls. And because we knew each other so well or from so young, like, middle school comes along and all those like dating things come up and they, a lot of their friends became my friends. So I was always kind of like gone to as a safe space for like what's happening with this. And even from that age, like it's just always happened with me. And I think maybe I'm unfuckable. And that was why I was like, the reason they came to me. Maybe I was always just kind of, someone would say, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? And then especially timing wise, like, I'm 41 and I talk about in the book, like the timing of my life is parallel to the timing of social media, like most people my age, So I was feeling these things and going through these things. And I'm one that believes that everything matters. I think everything matters. So like dating apps are a really easy thing to say it doesn't matter to. It's a really easy thing to feel like it's not a conversation that's important. And social media often gets the morality play of like anything social media is frivolous and anything on in person is not frivolous. So, and I don't believe that to be so. I believe everything happens for a reason. And my mom's been saying this to my whole life. You're so sensitive. I'm like, I'm not sensitive. I just notice. I'm not mad about this. I'm just telling you this is happening for a reason. And I do things a certain way, which means everyone else is doing things a certain way. And it's like, I might feel things a lot, but I can't feel things 100% more than the person who's doing the things. I'm within 10% of that person emotionally. So this is kind of like what I abide by in my life. So I think that's why people would generally come to me with their thoughts and questions because I never looked at them and go, this is what you're worried about. I would never say that to someone.
You tell it like it is and you validate what they're asking.
Right. I don't want to be
And
like the douche that's like, I'm a truth sayer. Like, I think validating what someone's asking is more my vibe. Like, I really
Yeah.
do believe there's no crazy question when it comes to dating. So I think over the years, people have trusted that.
And I'll ask you some crazy questions today.
Sure,
So I'm
please.
glad. And then wait, just curious also, how did you get into comedy?
I was selling life insurance and annuities, and it was
Oh my
like after college, and I'm living in New York, and the best part of my day was writing an email to friends where I was making fun of one of our friends and having someone write to me specifically from that email, like, oh my God, that was hilarious. I'm dying at my desk. I was like, how do I repeat that feeling over and over again? And I really didn't care how it happened, which is why I probably got into podcasting earlier than most. It's why I got into posting on social media earlier than most. It's why I yell at The Bachelor. It's why I've always like taken swings. Is like I just like being funny and like entertaining. So whatever that turned into was fine with me. But I stand up was something that I would do every night because it was really a great way to like just be working on something small without forgetting about the big picture. And stand up is just more natural to me. Like that is just like where I feel most comfortable. That is like that's my religion of sorts. Like that those are my people. I love doing stand up. I get very personally offended by people who try to enter into stand up without caring about stand up. I like think of it as like a very important art form that's not really loved by a lot of as many people as who say they love it. I think people want to say they like stand up, but generally, like most people don't love stand up. So, but I love doing it.
And this kind of leads into what you said with being in annuities and life insurance, but stand up is notorious for being tough on the wallet. So before comedy paid the bills, how did you afford to chase that? And when did it flip into something that you could actually live on?
I had money saved from like bar mitzvah. Like I'm very lucky in that sense where I think if you look at the world today, it's like, how many chances do you get? You know, I'm lucky to get, probably one chance, maybe another chance at some point. What does that mean? That means really that like on my special that's going to come out in the fall, I talk about being on my parents' cell phone plan. Like I will never get off my parents' cell phone plan. I don't plan on it. I'm fine with that. That is a form of investment from my parents. That is a form of, help from them. But now I don't need it. I've gone off it, then came back to it. So like, I think that tells you a financial story that a lot of people have where it's like, I could have gone to grad school or law school. And instead I went and started doing comedy and invested my money into that, weirdly. So it's not really a sound investment, not one I would recommend, but I do believe I have a talent for doing comedy. So like it was investing in a talent that only really I believed in. So I had savings. I had, I was making okay money, not great. Like it was the first job out of college. And then I had the money that I could live on, not forever, but for enough time, and also keeping in mind like opportunities where bills needed to be paid, so I would say for the first, year it's out of pocket and paying rent and, in the whatever way I could with, savings that I had. I was pretty good at finding opportunities to like, and I was aware of like my monthly. I was aware of like I had rent, I had groceries. I was really living not really that wildly. That's kind of what got me through. But I never, and then opportunities would come up where, you make money from doing stand up. I would say it took, I wouldn't know, I just know that I was like not, losing money pretty quickly.
And it sounds like it's a mix of your savings that started from when you were bar mitzvah, and then
Right.
also like some type of parent support in the phone bill situation, or like that kind of having a little bit of the safety net from them.
Yeah, I think I think everyone, has a safety net that they're like a little embarrassed of. And that's why, this game exists of like, you look at people on social media and you're like, how does this make sense? Where does this come from? And it's like, I had the savings and then I had money coming in from stand up trickling in, but also like was never concerned as far as like, the failure of this would be to be losing money forever and ever and being delusional. I saw this very early on as starting a business. Like I also like, it's why I started a podcast. I was like, that's a business play. Like it's why I went to social media when I wasn't getting cast in things. I was like, okay, I need to grow my personal brand more than I can depend on, Joe Hollywood to like knock at my door.
Yes. And something that struck me about your business is you have a lot of revenue streams. Like you have the podcast, the book, the stand up, probably others. So curious, I've had requests from listeners to just understand someone's income before we dive in to
Mhm.
everything. Like what does your income look like now as a comedy mogul? I think consider you like a
Mogul.
mogul now.
I'm a
With all
very
the
middle class comedian. I'm doing okay. I mean, I would love for it to be better. I have different streams, and my issue is, and the reason I kept starting things was like one thing would do okay, but not good enough for me. So I'd start a new thing. But then that thing's doing okay enough that I have to keep it going. So then I keep getting busier and busier because, and I've described it as not golden handcuffs. I kind of have bronze handcuffs, like where these things are doing well enough that they create revenue, but letting go of them would be me taking a chance and taking a step back revenue wise. So like that's the hardest thing. And, as far as what brings in money, it's like ticket sales. I have 2 podcasts that both produce revenue. Like I had the Bachelor podcast. The Bachelor podcast I love doing. I would have people that came to shows from the Bachelor podcast, but I never knew what that number was. But Bachelor podcast wasn't making enough to like take up 3 hours of my week. So it's hard. And then
and how do
with
you
the book,
decide that? Like what's an amount that I guess that trade-off decision, like the amount that would make something worth it?
it's the hardest part about comedy is like there's things that you do that are for $0 and it's like, is it worth it? Starting out, it was like, I remember when I started, there was a lot of talk of comedians doing things for promotion, promotion. You'll get promotion from it. And it's like, promotion these days is like, well, am I going to get a following from it? Am I going to get a new fan? Am I going to, so like that was part of it. So you had to like, there's a ton of intrinsic value who plays that you kind of have to do when you're doing
Right.
comedy. So it's like, when it comes to like explaining that to people, people either get it or they don't. Going and doing an open mic is an investment of my time and effort, and it can produce a joke that I can go on the road and use and have someone walk away being like, that was the best show I ever went to. If you don't think in those terms, then you're fucked for stand up. Then you don't care about stand up because you need a show that is worth paying money to see.
And you don't get paid for the open mics. That's an investment in your craft, essentially, and your next material.
Right. And when you're starting out early, you have to be like, okay, stand up is like the thing I'm working on at night. And hopefully someone like lets me open for them, or maybe I'll make $50 from a spot in the city or I'll go on the road and it's 500 to headline 2 nights on the road in New Jersey. But you have to have like this larger goal in mind of like, am I creating something that is worthy of being packaged on a special that someone might buy in the future? In my mind, stand up turns into this like classic car you're working on. And it's like in the garage, I do a little bit every night. One day I'll sell it. But for now, I'm having fun working on my classic car. And then podcasts and doing social media, that's the work. That's the stuff that hopefully finds me new people that get introduced to like what I do. And it brings in revenue streams that help me so I can keep working on that classic car. I would love to do less of the stuff where I'm looking for new people and more of the classic car work. My goals are pretty modest, as far as like, I would just love to have sold out weekends. I'm doing 4 shows in Cleveland this weekend. So 2 Friday, 2 Saturday. If I was sitting here Thursday as we tape this with 4 sold out shows, in my mind, I'm doing it. Like, that's like, that is the win of the century. That is all I want in the world. And I don't know if that's enough aspiration. I don't know if people understand that, like how modest, like when someone says, "Oh, I'll catch you next time you're in my city," it's devastating. It hurts me like physically. And then I get like very worried. I'm like, maybe I'm not messaging it well. Maybe I shouldn't do any podcasts so that people know exactly what I do. There's a theory of like, what you put out on the internet is what you get back. So like, why am I putting out anything that isn't stand up? It's stuff like that. I have a special coming out in the fall that I think is better than anything else out there. I believe in it fully. But then if someone DM me, "Oh, you have a special?" Like, maybe I'll watch it. I would be. It hurts me physically. Like I can't take my emotions out of that. Like,
you need them committed. They're in.
I just need people. Maybe I don't do a good job of doing it, but I need people to understand, like, that's the thing, like all of it is for that. When someone's like me, and again, that's why I kind of say, like, I don't think people are as big as stand-up fans as they want to believe they are. Like, I don't know. But the other stuff, so both podcasts have their own like paid platform that brings in revenue. So you have the paid version and the unpaid version. The unpaid version has ads on it. And then you have, so Patreon and Betches, that's another, they have their own subscription model. And then you get like every now and again, you get like a brand deal where someone's like, "Hey, we want to pay you to put something on your Instagram." And like, I consider that like bonus. Like I don't really consider that. I'd like for those to happen every week. It's the easiest money in the world, but I don't know. I'm like, and then there's a piece of me, it's like, maybe I need to shut up more. Like, I mean, there's some people that put out more branded stuff than they do stuff. And I'm like, man, I'm a fucking idiot, like, so, but it's your own business. Like, I'm an entrepreneur and I would say all stand-ups are an entrepreneur, but we don't get looked at it that way,
Right. And it sounds like to you, the most meaningful work is the stand-up, and then that turns into the specials, which I'm assuming, and the shows, or like the model car. And then how would you say, like, is the revenue in that order, or it's completely flipped? Like the other things are paying the bills for the stand-up?
No, it's all pretty similar right now.
Okay.
And that goes up and down. It's, I think of my life like a mutual fund. What I like about podcasts and what I like about subscription model is the consistency. It allows me to like not be desperate. Right now in comedy, there's a lot of desperation. If you're a stand-up who makes money because you say horrific things, you're going to go say more horrific things so you can get heard. Like,
right.
With the way social media works right now, like the thing about like my revenue streams is that it preserves my opinion. It doesn't make me desperate for attention. And that's something that's happening in the stand-up world. There's a comic I can think of right off the top of my head. This guy, I don't think what he's saying is jokes. It's just words that are mean. And I see this guy on my Facebook every day. I see his videos pop up, huge numbers. The guy's selling out everywhere. And the temptation for a lot of comics, and I'll include myself, the temptation to, hey, let me go talk about politics, because like I have very little respect for like badly done political humor, like, because you're going to stand out, you're going to get heard, you're going to get people angry, which makes you money. So I don't really believe you believe in the cause that much. So, that's something that like money gets forgotten. Everyone's like, "Oh, you don't talk about politics, so you stay away from that." It's like, because it will hurt your money. That would make me a quicker nut, like it's always about the money, like I'm not saying I'm a hero, but I'm like, that's also not what I want to do this for the rest of my life. So like, I don't think that's a long-term strategy to be dishonest on stage. Like, you
Right.
know what I mean?
You're doing it
So,
despite the money almost. The other
right,
streams allow you to not say it.
right. Allow me to be myself. Like I
Yes.
want to do a story. The special coming out in the fall is a 1-hour story about going to the beach with my parents. And it's all about my dad asked me how much I weighed while I was at the beach. And that was a 1-minute story that I turned into an hour. I'm very proud of it. But it's also has a through line and it always goes back to the story. That's like not how it's done right now. Right now it's like clips and crowd work, and I love the special, but it's not really what's been successful right now. So like I feel it could just disappear. It could just seen by nobody, appreciated by nobody. I hope not, but I have to be kind of like okay with that.
Yes, I cannot imagine that happening, but I really hope not either. I
hope.
But curious, like how do the when you get a special, is it like you get a upfront money or is it based on views? Like how do the finances work?
There's two ways it happens. So there's 3 ways. The way every comedian wants is Papa Netflix coming up to you saying, Jared, you are so good at comedy. We love you so much that we want to give you this amount of money to make a special that's going to go on our platform. When would you like to tape it? That was the dream of my first special. My first special, 37 and Single, did so well that they gave it back to me to put on my YouTube channel. So that's not well enough. So, like, again, a lot of this sounds like when I talk about money and stand-up, it sounds like I'm being negative. I'm being realistic. I have to be.
Right.
Like, it was the top 10 in US and Canada for almost a week. And then I'm like, here we go. Papa Netflix, I'm ready for the next one. And no one called. And it was the worst thing that has ever happened to me. I'm distraught about it to this day because I was ready to do a next special. I had an even better special that I was ready to tape the next month. Like, I'm like, ready. Tell me you love me. Let's go. Top 10 for a week. And then they said, it didn't get out of your audience. It didn't find a bigger audience. And I said, well, do you want my next special? And they're like, we'll see. Tape it. So now I'm in the second bucket. The second bucket is make it yourself. Make it yourself is what I did the first time, and then send it to us based on our specs, and we'll buy it or we won't. And
so you have to invest the money to get it created.
Right. The first one cost me like 75 grand ish, 85 grand maybe. And then they rented it for 2 years. So it went on August 2023, stayed on till August 2025. They said, here you go, take it back, do whatever you want with it, try and sell it again or put it on your YouTube. So I did that. It's on my YouTube. You can watch it now, 37 and Single. And then I said, well, I have this other special. So then 2 years to the day I taped my first special, which was December 2022. So December 2024, I taped this special that's going to come out in the fall, and I made it for 100,000-ish, I think. You pay it over, an install, it's this up front, and it comes from my business account. I have an LLC, so like it comes from that. And then I was like, hey, and then it took them a year to watch it. So
a huge investment, and then you wait.
And you wait, and there's a little bit of like, okay, and then there's the third option that's always waiting for you is then there's also like, there's Hulu and there's HBO. You go to all the players and maybe they'll like it. Hulu, we got into discussions with, it didn't go. What Netflix came along and was like, we watched it and we're ready to go. So Netflix ended up doing another 2-year rental for this special, the same as the last one, which I am excited about. It's the most eyeballs. It's the most opportunity for hopefully, again, I'm back where I started again.
Does the 2-year rental cover the cost, or you need more? Okay.
It covers it, but it's not life-changing. You get your money back. You got to pay. And also, I produced it with Betches. And the play with Betches, both specials produced with Betches, and they were both, the idea was that I'd pay for it, but then they would help me promote it. And by the power of Betches, we'd be able to have a special that did, and that would help me sell it. That, well, Betches involved, so they'll promote it. And so now I'm back with Betches, so you got to give them some, they got to get paid. So like, it's a little bit like, the touring makes it back. But I kind of don't, again, in the same way, like my money thoughts, I'm, again, very lucky, but like, that's kind of how I've always thought of, like, the money go in, it will come out. Like, it'll work out. Like, it's back to the beginning. Like, okay, I'll do open mics. I'll consider this, when I was going off of savings and money I had in my bank account, it's going towards something that will become a career. And being realistic while also being a little bit delusional, you have to have a mix of the two, like in relationships. So
you're building a brand, not just project by project. You're
right. If you're thinking of it like, when do I make this money back? It's. I don't know if that's the mindset that is helpful. My mindset was always is the same as like the special. Like I don't think of like and I'm very lucky. I acknowledge the privilege in this, but like I don't think none of this is like money to me. Like it's like I want to be the best comedian. Like I want to be great. I want a great special. So like I want people to walk away from the show, go, that's the best show I saw. Like there's a lot of pride and a lot of competition. And I think most stand-ups are very much alike in that, where it's like, we're all very much in tune with everyone who's doing it, who's good, who's not good. Like we know the names. Like I can give you 5 names that I'd be like, those are people I look at their specials and I'm like, and I love these people, but I'm like, okay, am I keeping up? Talent wise, and so the third option, to go back to the what you can do, is YouTube is always waiting for you. And the special's meant to be watched by millennials and their parents. It's about my parents, and that's who it's for. So going from Netflix to YouTube and then telling people watch it with your parents, I didn't see how that would ever happen. And there are people that put their specials on YouTube have become wildly successful, and there's money to be made in monetizing your platform on YouTube. But YouTube has never done well for me. Like I've just never had the response on there that I would have wanted.
And I think a lot of people think when you become an author, like now you're rich. Like what can you share about the money in books specifically?
Man, I got a book deal up front. You get money up front. They tell you this is the amount you're going to get. And then I'm trying to learn every day. I learn more, but I again, how little I know, it should tell you how stupid I am. You get a book advance, and then once you sell past your advance, now you get a piece of every book sold, is what I'm told. Mm-hmm. And my advance was a good advance, but not life-changing. And
was it like 6 figures, 5 figures?
So I could tell it was like 200,000, and you get it over the, but I also got paid, it's a 2-year project. Again, to go back to my mindset, which is the same for the book. Like people ask me, how was the book tour? And now I sound like a miserable fuck, because I'm like, I don't know. Did more people come to my shows? No. Like, did my Instagram go up? No. Like, I'm always like a year from now. Like the book I put out, when I do something, I make it really good. I make it as well as I can. I make it personal. I make it funny. I make it vulnerable. With the podcast, I make it good. When I'm in it and making it, it's all about the thing. And then what comes from the thing, that's when I get angry. Nothing feel like I feel so fulfilled doing the thing. That's why when I'm having a bad week, I'm like, well, I haven't done enough comedy. I haven't created enough. Like, that's what I feel genuinely. Like when I make, I yell at The Bachelor and I'll do the live scream. So a lot of people have come to me from me yelling at The Bachelor. This is a perfect example of how miserable people probably people. I hate the word people. How miserable someone might think I am. I make this live stream. I make fun of the show. It is a piece that I put a lot of work and effort into. I'm sitting in front of the TV in one chair, holding my phone up to the TV, doing takes, yelling at it, going, nope, that's not the joke, rewinding, yelling at it, fuck Jared, what the... If you ever watch me do it, you'd be like, you're a crazy person. And then I put it out, and once it's over, I put it on TikTok, I put it on, and I'm like, and I have this delusion that I'm one live stream away from having 100,000 new people come and want to see my shows. That's my delusion. When I make something, I believe it. I think everything I put out is funny and worth finding new people. And then when I have people watch my stories and then respond to me and they're not following me, I'm like incensed by it. Because I'm like, and I go and I'll respond. I've gotten in this scenario before, and I never feel better. But this is how much it's like, and it's not about money, but it is. Like I have to acknowledge. But I'll be like, and they'll write, "Oh, that's hilarious! This is the funniest thing I've ever seen." I'm like, sounds like a good reason to follow the person who made the joke. And then they'll write something shitty back like, whoa, respect the hustle. Fuck you. Respect the hustle? This isn't a hustle. This is my life. What do you... And again, like I believe in compensation in all forms, intrinsic value, liking, following. I consider that money in the bank. Like I really do. Like I don't need you to come to a show. I trust that you will like my stuff so much that you will come to a show. This is why I put the time in. But when it's like, especially with social media, when it's like flaunted in your face, when people are watching and don't engage with it, but then engage with it, but don't realize that you're wasting my time. Listen, if you want to watch and say nothing and never talk to me and never follow, it's okay. I'm okay not. But when I write back to them and go, I would follow, and then they act like I'm crazy, I'm like, how do you think the whole world works?
How do you see my stuff again? Do you ever want to see it again?
How will right. This is all to maybe get you to come to a show and have the best night of your weekend.
Let me serve you.
Right. Like I'm like, it's like all of this is to create good. Like I'm not trying to steal.
And it sounds
from
like you love the creation, but some of the business. Curious, like you mentioned a few of your team members. Like, what does your team look like? What is Jared doing in a week versus like what are you getting support with?
I have a manager. Manager in comedy, I would consider a business partner. We are starting a business together. So I have a manager. I have an agent. I would consider my agent a business partner of a certain type. They're bringing.
How are they different, manager versus agent?
Agent's more finding you opportunities or being presented with the marketplace, and then you and your manager are deciding what's the play. So me and my manager are more business owners together, like co-owners of my business. This is how I see it. They might see it a different way, but this is how. And an agent is more like, hey, I can bring you. I've pitched your name out to the players out there, and maybe sometimes they'll be like, we want Jared, or it's them being like, hey, to this club, Jared wants to come to you. Can you make a deal with me? That would be the agent's purpose. And I work with people that I've worked. I don't really leave people. Like I work with people that I like and I consider like friends. But it's through comedy. And then I work with a producer for my podcast who also helps edit the videos and make my stand-up videos. And that's someone that's working with me to like, make sure that my podcast is out every morning and that I have clips that I can put out to promote and then bring people in. And then I have a person that sells ads for JTrain that I've worked with for like 13 years, 12 years. And then, I work with Betches. We are partners. So I have betches people that are working on my behalf based on the podcast. So that's another element where I'm working with them. And then I've hired PR people for the book that just came out and the special that's going to come out. And that's expensive and a thing that frustrates me. And I do believe it's worthwhile, but that's something that like I'll have to reassess when that contract, ends and see if that value came back.
And the same group is doing both? Or you have two different ones, book and
But
special?
they're doing both. Yeah.
Got it. And curious, like, because you mentioned I think it was like a club to do a show, like, and you mentioned, so you just get paid based on tickets, but there's an arrangement and the club gets part of the tickets?
So you basically have a minimum. So Cleveland, 4 shows. For 4 shows, you will get, let's call it 7,000, and we will also give 1,500 for travel and expenses of travel and room included. Okay. And then I'll be like, okay, I'm going to bring someone to open for me. I'm going to pay them. So give me the money you would have paid them so that I can pay the opener an appropriate amount, which they won't pay them. And then I go, give me the money, and then I'll take care of the opener and make sure that they're getting properly compensated and can fly out from New York or wherever they're coming from. And I'll take care of their room or the hotel that you were going to give to the opener, and then I'll go stay somewhere else. But I generally have the opener stay where I'm staying. If I can't afford to put up the opener where I stay, then maybe I shouldn't bring an opener. It's kind of my thought.
It's almost like every show is its own little business economics. Like it's like you get and how many of them are you doing?
Like, so if I sell above a certain amount, then it changes from that 7,000 to 80% of the door. And then, or minus net expenses. And that's a thing that we could go into a million times, but it's basically 80% of the ticket sales then go to me. And then if you sell out the whole weekend, then it changes to 90%. Those are the deals. So it's either that minimum and you sold no tickets, but you're going to get 7,000 plus the 1,500. And then I got to pay the opener and I got to pay, it would all come out of that. Or you make 80%. And then I control how much the tickets are a lot of times, especially in a theater. If it's a theater, I can say, that's why someone's like, Seinfeld costs $500. Yeah, he said I get $500 per ticket. Like he's part of that. That. There was a lot of like feedback, like, oh, we got to pay Ticketmaster. It's like, I only admit to that because I keep my tickets pretty cheap. Like I actually take a lot of pride in like I want you to bring your friends, so like I keep them as cheap as they can go. So every club, has a different deal that comes in based on what they can afford and based on, whatever. And based on the area, like there's some areas where I'm not going to sell tickets. And also there's different reasons for different clubs. If I go to one place, it might be to work on material. So like, versus another place where I'm like coming in with like, it's just, or I know I'm going to sell it that weekend. So I want to make sure I have like a good show. I don't know. They're all good shows, but
is there like one of the people on your team, like, are they managing? Because there's a lot of parts. Like you have the multiple podcasts, the book, which the specials, the shows, like then from that bubble in your business account, then you pay yourself. Are you paying yourself a salary?
No salary. It just goes to my business account, and then I spend money from that. As like business expenses. And
then for yourself though, you have like a distributions.
Yeah. You have to do your own distributions, and I have an accountant that you got to pay and it's all from that. So I'll get paid sometimes at the end of the year, or I just got paid recently. And I was like, because there was enough money to like leave some in there to pay expenses. Right. Again, like I'm not like, the thing about this is like sometimes I feel like there's moments where I'm like, man, it is such a thing that I don't feel good at. Like it's a full on business that you have to be in touch with every day.
Right.
And it's hard because I don't want to be doing business stuff. I want to be doing comedy stuff. So it's like that's where you kind of like, you kind of see these like businesses that get bigger, but then implode on themselves because they can't handle getting bigger. Like I feel like I'm at that part of my life, and I've been at that part of my life for 2 years.
And I bet it's pretty unique to be in stand-up, have a stand-up business, and be earning multiple six figures. And just from the book, right? And then you have other income streams. So it's pretty incredible.
Right. I mean, that's nice. I don't think of it, I used to think of $100,000 a lot when I was selling life insurance. I used to think that was like the pinnacle. I haven't thought that. To me, it's like, and this is, I've never met this comic, but I have repeated this so many times. His name's Kyle Kinane. Kyle Kinane is a very funny comic, one of the best. He's very good. And we've never met, but a friend told me this advice that she got from him, and I have repeated it many times. And maybe when I meet him, I will bring this up, but he might say to me, "I didn't say that." So I don't know.
False attribution.
Right. But he says, the prize is that you get to do stand-up. That's the win. That's what you get. All the other stuff is to get to do stand-up. And if I, and I've always said it from the beginning, I want to have a career. I don't want to just make money. I want to have a career. I want this to be my life. I love doing this. Like the puzzle is entertaining for me. I never want to lose the ability to do it without being desperate.
Yes.
You go, and again, like, that's why it's like the money thing, like, oh, you're going to do a show where you're going to get like, I've gotten paid to do shows where you get $50,000, and it's because it's a private show that you get paid more, but there's more rules, pros and cons. You got to stay clean, but we're going to give you 50, and you go. But I've also done shows. I just did a show at the Comedy Store in LA during my book tour, and it was 15 people. I got paid $0, and I did this bit about going to a nutritionist and the way nutritionists talk to you and how enraging it is. But I audio recorded it, and I had like a breakthrough for this nutritionist bit, which I think could be like a 10-minute awesome fun bit. And now I get to work on it. That was as important as the $50,000. The $50,000, shows in the future where I'm doing a private gig happen because of that $0 gig. But I think every stand-up comedian has this mentality that Louis C.K. said it once. He was like, every joke I do, I feel like it's the last one I'll ever write. And I think that's a very comedian's mentality.
That's why it feels like such a win when you get the next one.
Oh my God. When you like the nutritionist thing, I'm going to do it in Cleveland this weekend. I might walk away from Cleveland being like, I don't have it, and it'll be miserable. But like the ability to have something to work on, to tinker with, is like, it's like the best feeling in the world.
Yes. And okay, so I know we talked a lot about your business, but I also want to talk about the book and money and dating.
Okay.
Just curious, like from your multiple podcasts, from the mailbag, from feedback, like how much do you hear about money and dating? Like
you hear about it a good amount because people are like, it's funny. It's like in dating, it's the thing you think you're on the same page about, and then it becomes the reason things ended. Like I think underratedly, it happens earlier in dating than people want to believe. Oh, I'm not ready. That's, I think, a money decision more than people want to believe. Like I'm not ready to be in a relationship is also, I'm not ready to start life and make you a responsibility in my life. I think if you're, again, like everything's about money. Why does the person do the joke where they're mean and say horrible things? Because they're desperate for money. Why does the person end the relationship? Because they're not confident in their ability to provide a life for a partner or to make themselves a lovable partner based on the life that they can provide with their income. So I like that is when I answer dating questions, it's always with money in mind. Like when someone's like, and especially because I get asked to speak for men, and I think a lot of the social stuff, women have social stuff they deal with, but the social stuff women deal with is almost more, there's more morality to it. It's like, women wanting love and affection and to nurture someone and to have a family, and this guy who won't commit because all he wants to do is fuck. And it's like, that's a way to look at it. Or it's woman who the world is telling them, hey, who are you dating? When are you going to get in a relationship? When are you going to have a baby? When are you going to do the next thing? And then men getting asked, are you financially sound? Are you I think the underrated male side of things is the social aspect of your worth in relation to your ability to provide. And I think that's changing. But if you want to give any empathy to the male side and why they date the way they do, I think the societal stuff that we allow women to have, which I totally agree with, isn't afforded to men in the same way.
And then they don't feel like they can date meaningfully until they have that way to provide financially.
Right. And maybe they get into dating thinking they can, and then they get 3 months in and they go, oh, okay, now I'm feeling the responsibility of a relationship. And where is this going to go? And then you have people that feel that their time was wasted, which I understand too.
Right. And they didn't realize that pressure until they were deeper in.
Right. I think people who are more acknowledging of money being a part of all of dating are a little bit more empathetic to that.
Curious too, like people talk about the singles tax. Like, do you agree with the idea that there is a singles tax? Like life is more expensive when you're single?
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. Just a home together. You live with a roommate or you live alone,
Right.
you want to move? Do you split it? No. You want to go to dinner? You want to order an appetizer with dinner? You don't need the whole appetizer, but you want to try things. I mean, look at it on a smaller scale. It's way more expensive to be single, but it's also, there's also no risk. So again, life is pros and cons, as you know, there's and risk reward. Risk aversion, is staying single is risk aversion. And I found that about myself, like where I would always say the only thing that could ruin my life is a relationship. I'm making money. I got my stand up is fine. But like, let's say I go a year, no money in stand up. I'll be okay. Let's say I go a year, no money in stand up while having a wife and kid. Not as okay. Then maybe I start doing, the anti-women jokes that assholes do. You know what I mean? Like, because they're going to stand out online. Yeah. Now desperation.
Right. What's like if you can think of one, have you had any awkward money conversations on a date? Any that you remember?
I mean, I have a girlfriend now, and she's going to move in, and I think all conversations about money are awkward at their core, but like it's also a constant negotiation. I think if I was like, we got to figure it out is different than we haven't talked about it. Right now she's going to move in, and I was like, we did have a conversation where I'm like, what's your, cause she's renting and I own this place. So I'm like, what's your rent? And I don't hear someone's rent and go, what? It's just your rent. And her rent made sense to me. And then I'm like, well, this is how much I'm spending on this place, and I can afford this place. But then there's the emotional aspect. Do you want to be living? I want her to feel like it's her home too. So if she said, and then I'm like, well, but wouldn't it be nice to take your rent and put it in an account where we both, that's our savings. That'd be fun. And now we can fuck around with that money. And if I have a bad year and I can't afford this, then we have to renegotiate those terms. But then if we break, if there's a group of people that'd be like, well, if you break up, you got to have it's in his name. And, and I can just fuck someone over. There are people that live their lives that way that they're going to constantly get fucked over. I don't see a scenario where I would be a different person than I am today, where if we broke up, I would need to screw them over in some way. But I also don't see that from them, that they're the type of person to do that to me. But you don't know, so you have to kind of let yourself, with money, like there, at some point with a relationship and money, you have to acknowledge that you might get fucked. But I don't think, again, no risk, no reward. So I don't know. Maybe if I met a couple that was like, we kept it apart and that's the way we work, I would find that it would translate to their relationship in some way or form. I would find that they're probably, I don't know. I would be curious to see what the relationship is like.
Well, it sounds like you had a very honest and open conversation talking about what things could go well, what could go wrong, like the possibilities of what you could do with that money. So that's very exciting.
It was, again, it's like it's still going, like we haven't even finished the conversation. We're like in the middle of it as I talk to you now. Like, but I also just from knowing personal finance, the little I do, and she's a wealth manager. So like she knows it. I'm like, I would rather just take it and run. Like I would love for her to like, just tell me what to do, but I'm sure there's a little bit of tiptoeing around each other that we're both doing.
Also, I like the idea that it's just an ongoing thing because, like you mentioned, at some point, maybe you need to renegotiate what's going on, or maybe you don't, but that it's like in process.
Right. And then I think that's where you have to like, how vulnerable I think it's also, it's so emotional. Like like people don't want to say, I'm on my parents' cell phone plan. That was like even something as small as that.
Yes.
And the bit was like, I'm on my parents' cell phone plan. Some crowds, woo, me too. Others look to their right, look to their left. And I would be like, I guess I'll be the brave one. I'll admit like that I don't see myself ever getting off of that family plan. Like they can pay until the day they die. And that would get laughs. And then, but
Mm-hmm.
for some people, look at something that small, like, and then someone would yell out, it's cheaper. They're almost defending that, why they do it.
Right.
And I put that in the joke. I'm like, it's cheaper. Yeah. So is living in my parents' basement. I'm not doing that. So it's like, it's cheaper is like such a weird, that's a self-conscious response.
There is a lot of shame from getting help. Like I did on the street interviews in the West Village, and I just asked people, how much
especially in that neighborhood.
Yes. And 7 out of 8 of them didn't pay for their own rent. Their parents paid or they inherited something. And when I posted about it, like people were so angry.
Right.
I think maybe because we aren't open about it and it feels like unfair that some people have this, but it's like, that's awesome that their parents are able to help them. And so there's definitely also something there.
It's the social media aspect of it. I think like we are constantly on our phone watching someone live what looks like an easier life than us. And if someone's like putting that out there and not acknowledging the privilege they have while they put that out there, like it's angering,
Right, because we're comparing like, hey, why can't I afford that place?
Right. And also I can't afford that. The West Village, the most expensive neighborhood is also the most coveted. Like, So when you put out like, and when and then you assume other things. It used to be you go on vacation and your neighbors went on vacation. You come home and you'd be like, how was your vacation? And you assume they went on the same vacation as you. Now you can see the person on their vacation and look at the hotel and see how much it costs a night. And you go, how the fuck do they afford that? And I can't.
This is like the whole premise of this podcast. Exactly.
Right. And that's the hard part. And it's like, listen, I saw it when I started comedy. Like, those people that were working jobs during the day and then going out and doing comedy at night. I was very lucky that I was like, that's not the route I had to go. But I also took those days and it wasn't me, at a bar telling people I'm a comedian. It was put into like, I took sketch, improv, classes everywhere. I did consider it grad school, and that's how I rationalize it. And then, there's also like things on the other side. Like, the other thing is some people get a perspective that I don't get. When I say I wasn't cast in anything, well, who wants to cast a guy from the suburbs of a major city that went to public school and a state school? Who cares about that perspective? That's not interesting. So someone who grew up not, in a city and didn't go to school and opted to be an artist, that's a perspective people want to hear from. So like, win some, lose some, that's a more interesting, they already have a bit that's more interesting than my bit about being on my parents' cell phone plan. That's a easy, some people would say that's fucked, no, well, fuck that. I'd rather the other way. It's just not the way it works.
Right. And you mentioned social media. So you have a ton of followers, listeners, and fans. Curious, like how much free stuff you're getting. Can you put a dollar amount on what that would add up to?
I just got a cherry pie because they want me to promote the new Larry David TV show. They sent out a cherry pie that has to do with, I guess, American history, because as American as cherry pie, I don't know. The dollar amount on that, not a lot. Not as much as maybe I'm not taking advantage. I mean, like Cleveland, there's a restaurant in Cleveland that I wanted to go to. They had no reservations. I DM'd them and they got me a reservation.
Right. It's hard to put a value on that, but you're right. It's a perk.
That's a perk. And then sometimes you get sent stuff. Like I always get sent something that's going to be a sponsor on the podcast, but they want a personal, but I'm trying to think of like when I've really gotten, those are nice things, and sometimes it's awkward because people send you stuff and you're like, I don't have a use for this. I've learned that you'd rather, right. I've learned that you really rather pay 9 out of 10 times. Like I'll give you an example. Like there's a show in Aruba. My buddy does these shows in Aruba and he doesn't really pay, but he'll get you down there and he'll put you up and you get to be in Aruba, which is like the best beach in the world. There was a part in the beginning of, doing comedy where I'm like, I can't wait to go to fucking Aruba. It's going to be great. And now I'd rather get my own vacation. I'd rather go to Aruba on my own and not have to like spend the day worrying about a show that night.
Right.
So,
yes. I had another travel guest on and she was saying that the same with hotels. Like she'd rather pay than have to make 4 reels while she's there and create content.
And then you go, what a privilege that, like is someone sitting at home like, well, we don't think of like what you don't have to do. Like, they might hear that and go, well, I'll go on the vacation. It's like, will you also like have your health insurance be on the line? Like.
Okay, I've held you way too long. Just
no problem.
A few final questions. What's something about your finances people would never guess?
I guess what would they never guess? I think more in the long term than I do the short term. I think it's more, and it's not about will I have day to day. It's like all of my decisions are like, will it get me more? Will it bring in more people so that I can keep making my thing? And doing a show in a bigger venue isn't because I'm like, I'm going to make all this money. It's no, I get to, it's about the show. It's really
Right.
like that. The level of work is important to me. It's and it being the best, and the best act at the Comedy Cellar on the show they saw that night is way more important to me than anything else.
You have such a long-term mindset. What are you working towards affording next? This was all about how you afford this current chapter, but
Oh,
what's next?
I mean, I just want to be able to keep doing it. I don't really want for anything, which is a very nice place to be, but I don't want to like go backwards. I want it to
Mm,
grow, you know?
yes. Thank you. This was such a cool inside look. I
I
honestly
hope I
learned
didn't
a
say
lot.
too
I didn't
much. I feel like
I didn't know how a lot of this business worked. So thank you so much for
of
sharing
course.
what it's like to be a stand-up creator, entrepreneur. Where can everyone find you and support your work?
At Jared Freid on Instagram, Wizard of Ha's on TikTok, Wizard of Ha on TikTok, the JTrain
AJ.
podcast, which is daily, and then the U Up podcast, which is twice a week. And both of those have subscription platforms, which you can enjoy. But yeah, just check it out. I would love for people to listen, watch, enjoy, and
Well, thank you so
thank you.
much. And everyone go see Jared's shows.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to How Do You Afford This? If you love this inside look into how people are actually affording their lives, follow and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. We have new episodes dropping every week, and trust me, you do not want to miss them. And if you're enjoying the show, it would mean the world to me if you left a review. It takes just a minute and helps more people find the show. One more thing before you go, if this got you fired up to chase your own money goals, come hang out with us in the Money Club. It's a community of ambitious women building wealth together. And on average, members put an extra $10,000 toward their money goals in the first year. Come see what it's all about at thefiscalfemme.com/money-club. All of it, the show, the club, everything I do is part of my mission to make crafting a wealthy life more accessible, more transparent, and a whole lot more fun. See you next week.